What's up? Welcome back to the channel. Justin Welch with Welch Fishing. Okay, it's post big bass tour back in South Dakota. So, caught some fish, missed some fish. Stuff happens. But yeah, let me know what you think of the video. I'm gonna go over a couple of things, baits I was using, areas I was fishing. But yeah, you'll see I have an Alabama rig. I'm looking for a different one, so drop a comment. Let me know what's your favorite company for the Alabama rig or A rig, whatever you want to call it. But tune in and check it out. Let me know what you think of the video. Like I said, drop a comment. Let me know about your favorite lure you also like to throw in the springtime. So let's get in. Some people asked me about what I was throwing on some of my other social media, so I was going to kind of share that with you. Post big bass tour, share with you what I was throwing, and some of the things that I was doing to catch fish. But yeah, I mean, kind of what I did is secondary points. That's kind of what I fished with the rock, like you saw, where it was a chunk rock going into that gravel rock or pea gravel, whatever you want to call it, reddish orange rock. That's smaller than that chunk rock on secondary points. The area that I was fishing, there was a bunch of shad in there, which is typical around this time of year. Those bass are chasing shad. So, and another thing is, some people were throwing a jig on. A lot of people were throwing jigs around sunken trees. That's where most people caught the bigger fish, the 4-pounders plus. I didn't do that. I wish I kind of would have. But I was just trying to chase fish where the shad were, and try to nab some fish on bed there, which I didn't see until I went up to Ants Creek, and I caught a few up there that were going on bed. It's just the weather kind of changed day to day, and those fish were coming up and then they're pushed down, coming back up and pushed down. So it's kind of a guessing game. That's kind of why I think we caught those big fish. Steven nabbing that 5-pounder, then me missing that 6-pounder. It was just luck of the draw. We just got to the right spot at the right time, and those fish came up. But to start off, so you guys saw this in my previous video. This is a Bass Pro XS walking bait, and then this is on my 6.6 Bass Pro series, just a medium action rod with a 6-2 reel. I like this rod and reel setup, just because when I'm working, I work this bait pretty fast. So when I cast it out there, you'll see in my video that I'm really giving it that tip action to make it swim pretty fast. And plus I can make pretty long casts with it, but I really don't like a 7-foot or anything bigger, just because when I'm working that bait pretty fast, my rod tip will typically hit the water sometimes, or the side of my boat, just depending on where I'm standing. But that's kind of why I like this bait. White in color, that seemed to be what everything was, something imitating the shad. So if you haven't, get a walking bait, top water action. Always have that on when there's a chance. Top water action, you can see I was casting with some stuff, and if I saw him jumping, I would grab this pretty quick and just have it by my side. So yeah, that was mainly what I caught most of my fish on, was top water in those early mornings. The biggest one I caught was 6.2, which is, it's not big, but something to tell, like I said, walk up to the scale, because typically a 3-pounder was going to take 10th place, but you never know in those hours, especially late, that if you're gonna win or not. So it was fun. But the next one I threw, that's very popular down there, is the Mega Bass 110. This is the first time I ever threw a Mega Bass. I've thrown some other stuff in the past. This one is the Pearl Ghost, or the Pearl something, white in color. It's kind of got a black eye around it, kind of got that bluish tint, imitating the shad. This is set up on a Jordan Lee Abu Garcia rod and reel setup. This one is a 7-foot medium action, medium heavy actually, with a Abu Garcia. Let me see what the real rod and reel, it's not telling me, but I'm guessing it's 6-4 would be my guess. Yeah, so it's not telling me what kind of reel it is, or gear ratio. But my guess, most of the stuff I have for Abu Garcia is a 6 to 4. You're probably wondering, like, why would I throw this jerk bait on a 7-foot rod and my flute, or not my flute, my walking bait on a 6.6? So most people twitch it down when they're jerking. For me, I like to cast it out there, and you'll see my video, but I'll put my rod tip to my side pointing straight out, and I'll really just give it hard jerks when I'm fishing. To me, especially with these mega bass, they really have really good movement, so it's going to go, you know, a matter of 1 to 2 feet side to side, just going all over crazy like it's something just chasing the shad. So I don't really, you know, give it that twitch like this. I really jerk it, like I'm really, one hand, you'll see me in the video, is really just going like that, to, you know, give it as much action as I can. I'll stop and then reel and then give it some more. But if you haven't used mega bass jerk baits, they're unreal. This is, like I said, the first time I used it, and this is actually the Mega Bass 110 plus one, so it's a little bit deeper. They have, you know, your standard jerk bait, and then they have a plus one, which I believe goes to like 6 to 9 foot, and then they have a plus two, which goes to, I think, almost 12 foot, depending on what line you use. But that's what I caught some other of my fish on, and I mean, you're gonna pay some money for this Mega Bass jerk bait, and it's worth it. Believe me, that rattle, when you're really jerking that rattle is pretty loud. So I was pretty surprised, you know, when I threw it for the first time. But yeah, check them out. It's $23.99, so it's not a cheap bait, but it does the trick down there, and I'm sure it's gonna do the trick up here in South Dakota when I go catch some smallies this weekend. So tune in for the action on that. And last but not least, the last one I threw, that's pretty common nowadays, is the good old A-rig, Alabama rig, whatever you want to call it. Threw it on 50-pound braided line. This is a 6 to 10 medium heavy rod by Luz. Got it from the Big Bass Tour a couple years ago. And it's paired with a Johnny Morris carbon light reel. I believe it's a 7 to 5 or 8 to 3. Let me check. Way off, 6 to 4. So that's typically, I kind of like the slower, when I'm reeling or using my jerk bait or something, I like the 6 to 4 to kind of, you know, let it sink down and let the bait sink down, and, you know, I can work that bait pretty slow, kind of when those fish are lethargic sometime in the spring. I have 1/4 ounce heads. These are just the Bass Pro jig heads, and then I have the dummies. In Missouri, you can only throw 3 hooks, typical in most places other than, I believe, Arkansas, in the Midwest, and maybe Oklahoma, I can't remember, but up here it's 3 hooks as well. And if you haven't been using these, I'm telling you, Bass Pro Speed Shad, Pro Blue, I'm letting you know the secret. These things catch fish a lot. A different species too. I catch a lot of walleye up here, and you know, it's good for bass. But like I said, I threw most of my stuff that was in a shad color. Like I said, another thing that was working for some people was throwing a jig around those treetops or down in sunken trees. Don't know what the color they're using. My guess is something natural to the color. The water was pretty clear where I was fishing in most of the lake. So, you know, that brown and purple, peanut butter and jelly, something with some chartreuse in it, something that's a shad color as well. I mean, I'm sure if you threw on your favorite jig, you'd probably catch one that's more of a natural color. But those are some of the things I used. Like I said, I used about 15 rods to narrow it down, and those are the only 3 that I really caught fish on, and I pretty much used the whole tournament. But yeah, jerk bait, walking bait, A-rig, and I forgot to tell you what the A-rig was. This is a Yum Junior. Some people have mixed reviews about these because they break, which I had a few break on me down at the tournament. I probably went through about 6 of these. 2 or 3, I mean, most of them I got stuck on trees and I couldn't get it off. But yeah, I'm sure I'm going to try something different. But yeah, they're all right for, I mean, you know, doing a tournament or something. But I mean, I don't have problems with them. I mean, they do break. I mean, it's going to happen at some point in time. As much as you use it, if you use the same one, I use the same A rig, you know, for 2 or 3 years, so it's bound to break. But you know, you lose that, the A rig's like whatever, 15 bucks, 17 bucks, something like that, and then, you know, you got your, so I mean, overall, you know, it's over $20 invested in that lure. So it just happens. You always have a backup on all your stuff. So I just had to reload, I guess. So, but yeah, thanks for watching. That was my my baits that I was using on Table Rock. Happy to share. So tune in for the action this weekend. I'm probably gonna go and try to nab some big smallies up here. It's getting close to spawning in South Dakota, so see if I can nab a 6-pounder, because nobody fishes for bass up here. It's a walleye country. So tune in for the action. Peace.